What's up everyone, my name's Robbie, this is Robbie of Manila, and today we have an epic video. So the reason this is going to be such an epic video is because we're putting two epic brokers against each other. There are people that have crazy Vanguard brand loyalty, but there's also people who have crazy Fidelity brand loyalty. And so I think I'm qualified to talk about this because I'm actually not going to give you a biased opinion because I personally use Charles Schwab. So at the end of this, I'm gonna really tell you what I think is the best of these two brokers. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm not gonna say, oh, they're both great, go with either one of them. I'm gonna tell you which one I think is the best. So please watch this whole video so you're gonna know which is best for you, and I actually made two different spreadsheets to help you figure it out. I have a spreadsheet showing all the different commonalities these two brokers have, and there are a lot, but I also have a spreadsheet showing the distinguishing factors which I think are gonna help you figure out which of these is gonna be the best for you. Okay, let's get into this. Let's roll the intro and then let's get into the computer. Okay everyone, let's go ahead and get started, but first there was one thing I did want to mention, something very interesting. There was a study done and it showed that people who like Vanguard and Fidelity have one thing in common, and this is a very interesting statistical fact. So they both loved hitting the like button on my videos. So hit the like button. Thanks. Okay, so here we are in the commonality spreadsheet that I made, and I just kind of want to jump right into this and tell you that in the past, Vanguard has probably been the leader of reducing fees in index fund investing, and John Bogle was like, an innovator and an amazing man. And so Vanguard has a crazy following. People love Vanguard, and for that reason, there are people who are just gung-ho about Vanguard, and I don't think they've really looked at Fidelity or other brokers in a long time. And I think back in the day, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, Vanguard was definitely probably the leader in everything, especially if you're an index investor. But these days, companies like Fidelity, they have done so much more than you would have thought, as in they have low fees now, their funds are even lower than Vanguard's, and I think you'll see as time goes on here that I do think Fidelity is going to end up probably being the best for you, with the exception of a few things that we're going to go over at the end. But, at the end of this, you'll know which one's going to be best for you depending on the way that you invest. So let's look at the commonalities real quick. So we have commission-free trades, and this is the thing, like everything is so cheap now in terms of commissions that it's hard to beat any of these different brokers, right? So these are all commonalities. They all have no fees, they all have ETFs, they all have index funds, they all have stocks, they all have all these different things. So how do we distinguish which is going to be the best? So let's just go through this real quick, the commonalities. We also have all the same kind of taxable brokerage account, the IRAs, the Roth IRAs, SEP, these are all available at these big brokers, and these two are included. They don't offer cryptocurrency, which is interesting. So if you're a crypto investor, probably not going to be for you. They both have research. They both have adequate screeners, so you can screen for stocks, ETFs, funds. They both offer stocks, you can buy stocks. They both offer index fund investing, ETF fund investing, or ETF investing, bonds. They both offer low-cost index funds and ETFs. So for example, you can go to a Fidelity and still buy Vanguard ETFs. You can go to Fidelity and still buy Vanguard index funds. You can go to Vanguard and still buy Fidelity index funds and ETFs. So at this point, why does it even matter what you actually own if you can go to a Fidelity or a Vanguard and still get the other company's funds? So that's kind of what I want to answer here. They don't offer futures trading, so neither of these do. So if you're a futures trader, that's not going to be on the list for you. And then they both have mobile apps. So I think these are all important things that I would want to see in every single broker. With the exception of I don't care about futures trading and I don't care about cryptocurrency because I don't invest in crypto. But everything else on this list, I just want to make sure that it has a green check, and everything here does have green check. So that's it for this. Let's go over to the distinguishing factors so we can now figure out which one's better. All right, so now let's get into the meat of this to see which of these is actually better for you. So the first thing is there a minimum? So depending on how much money you have to invest, do you have a minimum to invest in any of these companies? And the answer is no. However, if you go with Vanguard, there is something called their Admiral funds that you can't invest in unless you have $3,000. So in the case of whether or not it's efficient for you to invest with Vanguard with less than $3,000, I would say it's not as efficient as if you went with a Fidelity. So if you have less money, Fidelity would be where you'd probably want to start. Next is fractional shares. So can you buy a fraction of a share? So for example, if a stock is trading at $5,000 a share, can you buy a fraction of it? Can you still only buy like a $500 worth of the stock if you don't have $5,000 to invest in one stock? So Vanguard doesn't offer this yet, which is kind of sad. I would have thought that they'd have this by now, but they don't. They do have it for index funds, so you can actually buy fractions into an index fund, no problem. So Fidelity has fractional shares available, so you can have fractional shares at Fidelity, +1 for Fidelity. A variety of research. So for me personally, this is going to kind of define one of the main reasons I do think Fidelity is best. So when it comes to research, Fidelity has better research than Vanguard. They have a lot more third-party research companies that you can access through Fidelity than with Vanguard. So I like research, and you might not like research, you might not care about it, maybe you're just an index fund investor, but at some point you may start to care about maybe looking at some individual stocks, maybe reading some more interesting macroeconomic things and things on sectors and things like that. And in order to get that, you're going to want a company that has access to more of these firms, and Fidelity is the one to go with. So Fidelity wins in research, in my opinion. If you go down to the robo-advisor, if you're interested in a robo-advisor, they both offer a robo-advisor. The fee for the robo-advisor with Vanguard's lower at 0.15% than with Fidelity, which is 0.35%. Now, I will tell you that Schwab has a free robo-advisor, Intelligent Portfolios, so if you just want a robo-advisor, that could be an option for you as well. There's also Betterment or Wealthfront, so there's a lot of different robo-advisors out there, but if you're really looking for a one-stop shop that has both stocks and has bonds and has ETFs and index funds and robo-advisor, both these companies are good, but maybe Vanguard with their fee could be a little bit better than Fidelity. Next we have, how good is the platform? So for trading, and when I say trading, I talk about technical analysis, so charts and trading. So technical analysis, if you're not sure what that is the process of finding stocks to trade via things like patterns, via things like trends, using indicators. So this is totally different than someone who's interested in just buying a stock based on fundamentals or just index fund investing and things like that. So if you're a trader or one day you ever want to be a trader, then Fidelity is going to be way better than Vanguard because Vanguard's not set up for this. So I'm going to keep coming back to this, but Vanguard is really just kind of the old school, set in its old ways, index fund passive investing company, which is totally fine. But Fidelity has something that Vanguard doesn't, which is a better trading platform, so you can actually do some trading if you ever want to. And again, like, they have better research. So if you ever want in the future to have extra tools because maybe your investment style evolves a bit, then you're gonna maybe want to go with a Fidelity because, you know, in the future, maybe at that point in time, you're gonna have more options with Fidelity to find stocks and things like that. So next is the zero commission index funds, which is, honestly, this is huge, and this is probably what, in my opinion, will put a stake in Vanguard for most people. The argument for Vanguard, for as long as I can remember, for years, I've been a financial advisor, well, I'm not anymore. I used to be a financial advisor starting in 2008. People just talked about Vanguard, and their low expenses, and that was it. Like, that's the argument. Vanguard had amazing expenses, but today, Fidelity, you can do better at Fidelity than Vanguard. So these funds that Fidelity has launched are zero fee funds, and we're going to take a look at them. So let's take a look real quick at those index funds. Okay, this is Fidelity's website, and you'll see here that these are they're Fidelity Zero Funds. So the zero minimum investment mutual fund, so you don't have a minimum to put money in. You can put as much as you want or as little as you want. Fidelity, yes. Vanguard, no. And then expense ratio. Fidelity has 0 expense ratio, yes. Vanguard, no. So literally no expense ratio to open these accounts. And if you go back for as long as I can remember, since when I was starting to be a financial advisor back in 2008, people just talked about Vanguard because they were always the low fee place to go. They have amazing indexing and amazing fees on their index funds, and they've always been a good place to go ahead and invest and not pay a lot of fees. But these days, it's how do you compete with a zero fee on your actual fund? And you can't go to Vanguard and buy this fund. You can only get access to it inside Fidelity, to my knowledge. So they have a proprietary fund here that is only going to allow people who go to them directly to invest in the fund. So it's not like you could go to Fidelity and you can also buy a Vanguard ETF VOO or VTSAX. You can still do that at Fidelity, but you can't go to Vanguard and buy any of these Fidelity Zero Funds, to my knowledge. So at this point, I just think that if this is anything that you'd ever want in the future, you probably should go with this. So let's take a look at the fee breakdown between these two. So these are the Fidelity Index Funds, just general index funds, not even just the Fidelity Zero Funds. And you'll see that Fidelity's just fees are getting so low that they're really taking the competition to Vanguard. And in my opinion, they're beating them. So Fidelity 500 Index Fund, FZILX, the expense ratio 0.015%. Vanguard 500 Index Admiral, VFIAX, 0.040%. So basically, Fidelity's beating Vanguard in all of these different expense ratios. So you can no longer, in my opinion, say that Vanguard is better based on fees, because just generally, I don't think it's true anymore. I think actually Fidelity is much better in terms of fees on their funds, and proprietarily speaking, if that's even a word, proprietarily speaking, you can go to get a proprietary fund at Fidelity, the Zero Funds. So, I mean, that's it. Game over for me on that. So let's go back and keep looking at the spreadsheet. So the next thing we have is actually a positive for Vanguard. So anyone interested in options investing, Vanguard's actually going to be the place for you to go. So Vanguard is going to be the best one in terms of options because they have $0 options contracts. So you can go and you can buy options for free now with commission free with Vanguard. So that's the answer to that. If you're interested in options, or if you ever think you might be interested in options, well then maybe Vanguard is the one for you. So in this situation so far, I think pretty much everyone would be better off going to Fidelity, with the exception of people who are options investors or people who do really think that they're going to one day want to trade options. And if that's the case for you, Vanguard would be better for you in terms of options trading. So they win on that one. Next is the different banking services, which some people are interested in also having things like checking accounts and savings accounts and things like that with their brokers. So checking account, in terms of checking, they both have them, so perfectly fine. You can link a checking account, that's great. Savings account, Vanguard doesn't have one and Fidelity does. They also don't have full banking services like loans and things like that. So you're not going to get that with these brokers. That would be more of like a Charles Schwab type broker who has a full banking arm. Okay, everyone, so that is it. So here's the summary. These are both great brokers. I don't want you to think that I don't like Vanguard and I love Fidelity. I think they're both great. And of course, like I said, I'm a Charles Schwab account holder. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of people tend to evolve with their investing. And I think if you're ever to evolve, that Fidelity at this point in time is going to be a better broker, and I think going forward, they're going to probably continue to be a better broker. The reason is because Vanguard really is just a passive buy and hold type of broker, and I don't think they're ever going to care that much about individual stock trading, and I don't think they're ever going to care even that much about really in-depth fundamental analysis, because I think they just really want index fund investing. And index fund investing or investing in ETFs that track index funds or whatever you do, that is totally fine. I do it myself. But for things other than index fund investing and even just investing in ETFs, I do think Fidelity is the way to go. Now, like I said, they're also beating Vanguard at their own low-cost game with these Fidelity Zero Funds, and honestly, those are pretty amazing, especially if you're into low-cost index fund investing. However, if you're interested in options investing, or you think one day you're going to be interested in options investing, then Vanguard's probably going to be the best because they have lowered their fees to zero. And so the last thing to remember is that Vanguard does have a lower fee on their robo-advisor, so maybe Vanguard would be better if you're interested in robo-advisor services. So thanks everyone so much for watching. That's all we have for today's video. Please hit the like button. Subscribe if you like this type of stuff and you want to see future content. I'd appreciate that. And please hit another one of my videos on the end screen that's coming up right now.